and some comments. So this is mostly I hopefully it's not too hard. Maybe like the ideas might be a little challenging, but hopefully I'll make it as easy to understand as possible. So yeah, so let's do a quick review. So can you guys type in the chat like what you guys remember from last class? From class 1? Like what do you guys remember? Yeah, so I see a lot of stuff. Yeah, yeah, good. So last class we learned about all these stuff, right? So first we of course learned about I guess the most basic thing. So of what a variable is, right? So a variable stores data and the type and they're like in Python there are 5 types of data, but we only need to know 4 for now, right? So we don't have to really worry about data structures as right now. They're important, but right now we don't really need to know them, right? So right now, know that a variable stores data, and the types of data is an integer, which is basically just like a whole number, right? A whole number could be like 1, it could be 2, like 3. Basically, like yeah, any number that's like a whole number, right? Um, we also learned about floats. So the difference between a float and an integer is that a float is a decimal, right? There's a dot, or it could be a fraction, right? And while an integer is just a whole number, right? So a whole number is basically something that's I guess like it's just a whole number. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like 10,000, right? But a float can have a decimal, or it can have like a fraction, or it could be like 4.0 or like 3/2, right? And we also learned about strings. So just know that a string is anything that contains like the two quotation marks, right? So if we had like what this whole thing's a string, and the only reason it's a string is because it has these quotation marks, right? And we also learned about Boolean. So know that a Boolean only has 2 values. It can either be true or it can be false, right? And that's it. And it can only be true with the capital T and false with the capital F, right? Those are the only 2 values that Booleans can have. So a variable stores data, and when you define a variable in Python, you give it a name and you assign it to some sort of data, right? And that data can be one of these 5 things, but for now, just it's one of these 4 things, right? Okay. So also, so it's kind of hard to see. I guess the star kind of covers it up, but make sure that your variable names are meaningful. As in, like for example, if I wanted to store, um, I guess we can use the example from last time. If we want to store like the variable, like the string that holds my dog's name, I'll probably want to name it my dog, right? Or even better, my dog name, right? That's me, right? So a good practice is that like because after you get like a bit better in coding, right? You're gonna have like many lines of code, and you're probably gonna have maybe like 10 variables, 20 variables, 30 variables, or maybe even 100 variables, right? So you'll have a lot of variables, and if you just named it like X, like yay, like cool, right? Like if I were to look back at my code like 2 days later, it's gonna be kind of hard for me to understand what X holds, what yay holds, and what cool holds, right? If these were all variable names. So it's just a good idea. Like for example, like X might have been storing like, right? And instead of X, it would have been better if I were like my name, right? But one thing I'm gonna repeat this. One thing in these slides at least is sometimes they'll have like X or N. So in a lot of times in math, right, N just determines length. It's just not some like random letter that I named it. So N determines the length of something, and I'll explain that in a second. And X usually determines like some sort of like number. Um, it's just like an easy variable to just hold some random number. Because the issue is for a lot of like the things we're not going to be storing like, oh, my dog's name, but like this, it doesn't mean like these names are meaningful. It's just like it might look not meaningful, but in reality they hold some meaning that's like widely used, right? So N usually just means length, and X just means like some number. Um, I'll explain that more in a second. Like I'll point it out when we get to one of those examples. But just make sure when you're regularly coding, just make sure that your variable names they're all meaningful. You don't want to have some random letters in. That's just not good, and it's pretty bad for debugging. Yeah. Okay. So we also learned about printing. So I guess this is a first function that we learned about in Python. So when we print something, that something could be, well, two things. It can be a type of data, right? Or it could be a variable, right? So if we were to print a type of data, for example, I'm just going to skip data structures, but if we were to print any of these, we can print anything. We can do like print 1, print 0.4, print, like print like hi. We're printing a string here. And like we can also print like true, printing a boolean, right? Or instead of printing a data type, we can print a variable, right? And when we print a variable, for example, if my variable was defined as 1, right? We assigned the data 1 to my variable. Then all it'll do is it'll access whatever data my variable holds, right? So my variable holds 1, and it'll print that out. So if I were to do this when my variable is equal to 1, it will print out 1 in the console, right? So hopefully that makes sense from last class, and hopefully like the things above also make sense. So this probably might have been a little bit more challenging, but we also have inputs that we learned about. So inputs just allow the program to be more interactive, and it does that by like allowing the user to type in some number in the console. When they click enter, it will assign it to a variable, right? That value whatever they type into the console get assigned to a variable, like assuming it works, of course. So the format to do that is just variable name. So of course it's a variable, and instead of I guess holding a data like a data, it holds, this is technically data, but like it just holds like a, like how do you explain it? Like it just holds like a potential for data. It just allows a user to turn this thing into data, right? So this basically will do, so type and directions, they're all optional. You could just do variable name, for example, my input equals to input. You could do that, but and just know that when you do this, whatever you put into the console will automatically, like this will get assigned as a string. So it's always pre-assigned as a string unless you change it with type. So for example, if you want to convert it to an integer, you just do int. Float, you do float, like the whole word. String, even though it's already a string, you could do it. It will still work. You do str. And boolean, you just do boo. And like later on, I'll teach you guys how to do it with data structures, but just for now, just these four. And yeah, you can also give it some directions. So if you look at example right here. So what I'm doing right now is I'm gonna do an input, right? I'm gonna give the user some direction. So this will pop up in the console and it'll be like, okay, enter a number, right? It'll say like enter number, and then it'll have like some empty space where once whatever you type in, it'll turn like this whole input, this part will essentially turn into the thing you input. So for example, if I inputted like 3, it will turn into 3, right? And then after, since this is a string 3, I would eventually convert it into an int. So it become like this. So this string 3 will be converted into the number 3. And there's a question that was just how can we use booleans in real code? Oh, that's a good question. That's what we'll be learning about next class. So yeah, just know that a boolean right now can have 2 values. That's why I didn't really get into much depth because we have a whole class on that. So yeah, any questions about class 1? So that was a pretty quick review. So usually reviews I'll be going a bit more faster, but like since this was the first one, I just want to make sure like you guys actually understood everything. So this was a bit more slow pace. So does anyone have any questions on variables, printing, inputs, anything that I can clarify, or could we move on? Okay. Okay, I don't think we have any questions. Just let me know if you do. Okay, so now let's start with an icebreaker. So hopefully this doesn't take that long. And I'm just gonna be going around, I guess, this participant list. So what I want you to do is like when I call on your name, just so we can like get to know each other a little bit more. When I call on your name, I want you guys to just like unmute and then say, well, I guess your name, your grade, and like any hobbies, and have you coded anything before. So I guess like I can go first. So like I'm Neil, right? And then I'm a junior, so that means I'm in 11th grade in high school. For my hobbies, I have a couple, but right now I guess it's like playing spike ball. If you guys know what that is. It's usually I just like to play spike ball at the beach, and also like I like to build keyboards and computers. So I would actually here maybe I can this work. Okay, good, perfect. I don't know if you guys can see it, but like I like to build like keyboards and stuff. So like I built that keyboard and then like if you look at the computer side, there's some like notes and stuff. But like I don't know if you can see that. I can't tell from my camera. But I like build I like to build like computers and like keyboards. So like I know it's like to think of stuff. And so yeah, but mostly I guess the a big thing is that I've been getting into recently is spikeball, which is a pretty fun sport if you've heard of it before. So yeah, just so we can get to know each other a little better, how about we start with Anna? Do you want to just answer these four questions?
Sure. So my name's Anna, obviously. I'm a rising sixth grader and I'm almost 11. I like to play the piano and I like to read. I'm also very good at art and I play tennis. I've done coding before, like on Scratch and stuff, but not like a lot of like the actual typing stuff.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, also I think I get a bit sidetracked like talking about my keyboard and stuff. But I've also coded before, so yeah. Um, so how about we start with sorry, also sorry if I say your name wrong. Just please correct me. I'll try to get it correct next time. How about Elena? Elena? Elena L. Yeah.
Uh, my name is Elena. I'm a rising sixth grader and I am 11. I play the piano, violin, and I also play golf and I swim and I do jujitsu. I haven't really done any coding before.
That's cool. Yeah. Yeah, so you guys, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah. Hopefully this class just like gets you guys into coding a little bit more because it's pretty cool. How about Denny? I'm just going down my participant list. Denny.
My name is Danny, and I'm going to eighth grade. I'm like 13 years old, and I played the piano. I also play badminton, and I love to draw art. I done coding on Scratch, and sometimes I read a long time ago.
That's cool. Yeah. Yeah. Also, I also play badminton. I've been playing for I don't know, like 3 years, 4 years. So yeah, I still play that. That's pretty cool. Okay. So I was gonna call on you, Haley, but if your mic doesn't work, then it's okay. I guess we can skip it. What about Maggie? Or for Haley, you just want to like type in the chat and then I'll read it. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. How about Maggie?
Just can I type it?
Oh yeah, I can hear you if you just want. Oh, Maggie, can you? Sorry, I don't know what you if you said.
Can I type it?
Can you what? Sorry, can you repeat that or just type it to me in the chat? Like you're a little quiet. Sorry, what? Wait, let me turn my volume up a little bit. Oh, okay, yeah, you can type it. Sure. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, if you guys are like if you guys don't want to like talk about it, you can just say like you can type it too if you want. So how about Jenny?
Hi, my name is Jenny. I'm a rising eighth grader. I'm 13. I like to play soccer, do snowboarding, and I've done a bit of Python before.
That's cool. Yeah, cool. How about Eric?
Hi, my name is Aaron. I'm going to seventh grade. I'm 12 and I play basketball and I have not coded before.
That's cool. Yeah, yeah. Actually, basketball is really fun. It's a good sport to play. Um, who did I, okay, let's go. So Alan, do you want to?
Hi, my name is Alan. I'm going to sixth grade. I like playing football, gaming, and I've done some coding before, but like I forgot everything because I was like 7.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Okay. How about Brandon? Brandon, are you? Okay, maybe I don't know Brandon's here. Let's skip him. What about William? And I think that's it after you.
Um, my name is William. I'm going to sixth grade. My hobbies are gaming, playing with my dog, and that's it. I have done a little bit of coding in Java before.
Oh, Java. Okay, so yeah, I think if you don't remember Java, you'll see that it's a step down from Java. It's a bit easier in my opinion. At least for Python's a bit easier than Java. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, now that hopefully we get to know each other a little better, like you guys have a lot of hobbies, you guys are all around the same grade level. I think I don't I kind of forgot all of your grades, sorry, but it's around like middle school, late elementary school. So yeah, you guys are all around the same age, so that's pretty cool. Um and because my last class was like really diverse, like I had a third grader and like a 10th grader, so it was like kind of weird. But yeah, this is like I guess I don't know what I was expecting, which is pretty cool. So um yeah, let's move on. So let's actually get started with the lesson because I know it's like 22 already. So yeah, I think in Minecraft called Java. I think Minecraft was made with Java, or JavaScript. I don't quite remember, but yeah, or Minecraft Java is the PC Java, and then or the PC Minecraft, and then yeah. So let's start with lesson two. We're gonna learn about some operators and some comments, and I'll explain to you what those are when we learn about them. So what are operators, right? So operators are this is the Google definition again. I just sometimes I copy the Google definition. I'll give you guys a paraphrase version of it. But let me just read this first. So operations are ideas defined in computer science to have a function. And there are four main types of operators. So this is important. So there are four main types of operators. We have the arithmetic operators, the logical operators, the comparison operators, and the bitwise operators. So luckily, since this class is I guess mostly to get you guys introduced to the basics, and a little bit more challenge later on, let me annotate, sorry. I think this annotation will work. Sorry, one second. Sorry. It's not like, wait, what? Oh, wait. Okay, there. Okay, perfect. So, yeah. So, sorry, this thing is okay. So, luckily, since this class just to get you guys introduced to the basics as for now, because we're gonna get to harder things later on. We're only gonna be teaching you guys the arithmetic operators today. So tomorrow, I think someone asked a question about like booleans, how we use booleans in real code. That's where the logical operators come in, but that's what we're gonna be learning next class. And so yeah, we're gonna be learning about arithmetic operators today. And basically just know that an operator is something that will perform a function, like something that will perform like I guess a function between two things, right? So yeah, you put like A B operator, or sorry, A operator B, and it'll do something with A and B, and it'll give you an output, right? So today we're gonna be learning about the arithmetic or mathematical operators. So there are some things that outside of your regular plus minus, but I'm gonna get over the easy stuff first. And I guess before we go over that, we're gonna be going over something called PEMDAS. So who has heard of PEMDAS before? Like maybe from your math class, because you guys are all sixth grade, so I think like you guys probably have heard of PEMDAS before. Okay, so I see some yeses, some nos, some hand raises. Hopefully I think if those are just yeses, yeah. Yeah, so a good amount of people have heard about PEMDAS, and some people haven't. So let me just do a quick review about it. So hopefully you guys know what PEMDAS is, and if it doesn't, hopefully this definition can help you. So in math, we have something called an order of operations, meaning that like there's some operators that should be evaluated before other operators, right? So what we're gonna do is let me annotate again. So what we're gonna so PEMDAS is basically an acronym. It just stands for parentheses, exponent, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. And this just shows like an order of operations that they should be evaluated in. But this is kind of, I guess it might be a little confusing because you see like, okay, wait, M comes before D, right? That means that, the time should always come before the divide, right? But this is not true. Um, so when you have a times and a divide, like for example, if I had like a times b divided by c, right? So okay, wait, maybe I should do this. Actually, never mind. A times b divided by c, right? You instead of saying okay, this definitely goes first and this goes second, you would read it from left to right, right? And you see like which things come first. So first in this comes first, and then this comes first. That means we're gonna evaluate this first, and then we're gonna get this, and then this output will get divided by c. And also, if it was a divided by b times c, you read it from left to right. Divide comes first, times comes after. That means divide will go first, right? So hopefully that makes some sense. And same thing with addition and subtraction. So think of these two as a group. So multiplication and division will always come before addition and subtraction. But like itself, like this between multiplication and division, it's whichever comes first, right? Whichever comes first. Sorry, I'm like looking at my screen. I think it's inverted for you guys, but it'll basically be like whichever's one's on the left, right? The leftmost goes first, right? And addition and subtraction, between addition and subtraction, the one on the left goes first, right? So for example, like a plus b minus c, this one will get evaluated first because it's to the leftmost, right? And if it was a minus b plus c, this one will go first because it's on the left most, right? So does PEMDAS make sense? To the I guess to the people who didn't learn PEMDAS. So hopefully it makes sense, and maybe like if you forgot it, like this is a good thing. So parentheses will go first, exponents will go next after parentheses, and then multiplication division, whichever comes first, and then addition and subtraction, whichever comes first, right? Okay, perfect. So I don't think we have any questions on this. So I guess that's good because now and then it'll be I guess easier for me to teach you guys this stuff. Okay, so I want you guys to evaluate this and then number two. So this is number two might be a little bit more challenging, but if you don't know what it is, but let's do number one, number two.
For number one, what's the like the greater sign or like
Oh, the thing on
three?
top? Yeah, good question. So this just means the power of. So this just means 3 to the power of 2. So this whole thing. So I guess I'll rewrite this over here. So think of this as 3, because Canva wouldn't let me superscript it, so it was kind of weird. So number one is essentially this. And then remember, please like type everything all in one line, like 1, your answer, comma 2, and then your answer. So it's just easier for me to like look at everyone's answer. And I'll give you guys around maybe like 1 more minute, actually maybe 2 more minutes until like 32. Yeah, 32. Because it's almost 30. It's like 10 seconds away from being 30.
What's like the mark next to like 3 to the power of 2?
You mean this thing?
Yeah,
That just means multiply.
multiply?
Yeah, multiply.
Okay.
Okay, I'll give you guys maybe like, well, 1 more minute. For number one, the answer is there. Just you might have to like check your answer. Okay. So let me quickly. So, okay. So yeah, let's go over the answer. So start with number one. So for example, remember PEMDAS, start with the parentheses first, right? So any things in innermost parentheses we evaluate first. So this isn't the innermost one. So what was 1 plus 1, 2? Right? 1 plus 1 is 2, right? Now we're gonna do this outside parentheses. So now this thing essentially becomes like this whole thing's 2. It is like 4 minus 2 in these parentheses. So 4 minus 2 is 2, right? So this whole thing, this whole big thing becomes 2. Right. So now we're going to go left to right, and then we're going to evaluate again, right? So 3 to the power of 2 is 3 times 3. So that's just 9, right? Now let me write it out here. So we now have 9 times 2 divided by 2 plus 1, right? And, we go left to right again. So we go 18 divided by 2 plus 1, 9 plus 1, you get 10. So the answer is B, right? And then number 2, we're going to solve for x. So x equals to ABS negative 1. So let's just test you guys like a little extra. So ABS just means absolute value, right? So absolute value just means that whatever number we have, right? Whatever number we have, we just like just make it a positive, right? If it's a positive, it stays positive. If it's a negative, it just becomes positive, right? So for example, absolute value of 7 would just be 7. Absolute value of negative 7 would be 7, right? Just make it positive no matter what. So it'd be A, right? Because 1, just make it positive. Negative 1, make it positive just 1. Right. So this would be B and then A. Okay, let's move on. So we're gonna split this section into 2 parts. So there are some simple ones. That's just the ones you use every day. It's just like the plus, minus, divide, multiply, right? And there's also some more complex operators that are very important in Python that we don't really use in our regular lives, but are just very important, right? So first, these are the simple arithmetic operators. So these include, the plus, the minus, or negates, which just means you make a positive into a negative, or you make a negative to a positive, because like the negative and negative 3 is just 3, right? And the multiply, which is the star, and then the divide, which is the dash, and then ABS just means absolute value. Just means what I explained before. So yeah, let's just move on. So here's some examples of just the first 4, the easy 4, the plus, minus, times, divide. Hopefully you guys know how you plus, minus, times, and divide. And if you don't, you can just message me and then I'll go over it. And then so yeah, so for example, when we do this, right, when we are adding variables, you're adding the values that variable holds, right? Okay, I might have said that a bit fast. When you're adding variables, you're like, or when you're adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing variables, you're adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing the data the variable holds, right? So same thing with like kind of printing. You're just accessing the data, right? So for example, my var 1 plus my var 2 equal to 9. The reason it's equal to 9 is because the data my var 1 holds is 6, and the data my var 2 holds is 3, right? So what's 6 plus 3? It's 9, right? Same thing with this. So this my var 1 holds 6, my var 2 holds 3, so it's 6 minus 3 is 3, right? And so hopefully makes sense so far. Hopefully it does. Okay, so absolute value it might be a little more confusing. So when you do absolute value, you do ABS, and inside these parentheses, you will put either a number or you'll put a variable. Most of the cases, you'll be putting a variable because it's not really a point to write ABS minus 1, just make this 1, right? Like for example, if you do like my var equals to ABS negative 1, like might as well just write 1, right? It doesn't really, just making it like extra complicated for no reason. So usually what we do is we will take the absolute value of a variable. So if you do like absolute value of my var 1, of course, again, you're accessing the data that my var 1 holds, right? So my var 1 holds negative 3. So the absolute value of negative 3 is 3, right? absolute value of my bar 2 equals to 5. Well, my bar 2 holds 5, right? So absolute value of 5 is equal to 5, right? So do these two things make sense so far? Are we good? Yeah. I hope we're good. Okay, so now let's do these 4 questions, and I'll give you guys around 2 minutes to do these 4 questions. So yeah, good luck, and I'll give you guys until 39. And then if you have any questions, you can type it to me in the chat, or you can raise your hand at any point.
Why is there a variable 3?
That's just the name. Like pretend this when you're in a code, you have line 1 equals my var 1 equals to 5, line 2 my var 2 equals to 3, and line 3 my var 3 for like number 1 would be like var 1 plus var 2, right? And then if we're just trying to find the value or the data inside var 3, so it's just 3 for that reason. So it's just a name.
Which one is number 2 for the questions?
Oh yeah. So you can do like this one's 1, 2, 3, 4. Just do that. Sorry, I forgot to label them. But it's around 39 already, so let's just go over the answers. So my var 3 will be equal to var 1 plus var 2, right? And var 1, the value is 5, and var 2, its value is 3, right? So what's 5 plus 3? It's 8. So let's see, right? Number 2, var 1 equals to 2, var 2 equals to 2. Var 3 equals to var 1 divided by var 2, right? So what's the value in var 1? 2. What's the value in var 2? 2. So it's 2 divided by 2. Wait. Hold on a second. Okay, wait. I don't think this thing has an answer. Wait. Okay. First, let's pretend that's none of the above. Or I'll just put a random one. I think I might have decided to type 1 on this. I just like mistyped. Like I hit 2 numbers. Okay, so yeah, so it's 1. Oh, that's what happened. Oh, sorry. I was like looking at the slides, and then I think I clicked Control Z or something on this one, and then just made that one 13. That kind of makes sense. Okay, so yeah, let's pretend that never happened. So that's 1. So number down D. C D. Right, and then this one. I guess, do I have 2 divides? Oh, I have 2 divides. Okay, whatever. So I guess you just get divided with both answers, or 2 divide questions. So this one's 6 divided, holds 6. This one holds 3, so it's 2. And then this one holds so the absolute value of var 1, since it's a negative 2, is 2, right? And ABS var 2 is equal to 1. So because ABS of 1 is just 1, absolute value of 1 is just 1. So this would be 3, right? So we see DC. Okay. And okay. Let me let's go on to the next one. Okay, so let's skip this question because it's already 40. So this one's basically it just asks you to find the area and perimeter of a rectangle given 2 inputs, length and width. It would be nice if you guys could practice this, but we're kind of running out of time, so I guess not. So let's move on to section number 2, basically the complex operators. So these complex operators, there's 3 of them, and the 3 of them are gonna learn. So we have the float division, we have modulus, and we have power sign. So let's just move on. So this is how you write them in Python. So float division will be known as a 2 dash instead of the 1, like regularly. The modulus would be the percent sign, and power would be 2 stars instead of 1 star. So yeah, float division. So all float division is this, might be a little bit intuitive, but just know that it divides two things and it rounds them down. So you guys know what rounding is, right? Okay, hopefully you guys know what rounding is. So for example, if I had like, it doesn't let me annotate. Okay. For example, if I like 5 float division 2, right? Instead of regularly outputting 2.5, which is what it's supposed to do if you do divide, you get 2.5 rounded down to the nearest integer, which means it's 2. Right? For example, 7 float division 3, right? It'll get like 2.333 repeating, right? But you round it down and you just get 2. Right? So does that make sense how float division works? Okay, hopefully it does. And I'll try to go fast, and if we have extra time, we'll have time for the practice. So for modulus operator, this one might be the most confusing. So it returns the remainder of what you divided. So you guys know what the remainder is of like when you divide something? The integer remainder. Okay, perfect. Some of you guys do, so maybe some of you guys don't. So for example, I'm just giving you a quick example just so you can, the people who know what a remainder just clarifies. So when like, when you do like 5 modulus 2, you return the remainder, which is 1, right? And when you guys remember, like maybe when you were first learning division, right, you would do like this, right? And you go, okay, how many 2's will fit into 5 without going over 5? Right? Well, two 2's can fit, right? So 2 times 2 is 4. Now we have 1, right? And we have 1 left over. So now we're gonna say, okay, how many 2's can fit into 1 without going over? Well, no 2's can fit into 1, right? So now this will be our remainder. So remainder 1. So that's how we get this one right here. So for example, if we have like 18 divided by 5, we get, modulus, we get 3. Why? Because if we did 18 divided by 5, right, we have, so this, we see, okay, how many 5's can fit into 18? 3 5's can fit into 18 without going over, right? So this would be like this, subtract, right? How many 5's can fit into 3? Well, no 5's can fit into 3, right? So then this will be remainder 3. And then that's how you get it. So does modulus kind of make sense? How we get it. So just know that modulus divides it and you get the remainder instead of the, it's the quotient. I don't quite remember. But you just get the remainder. Okay. Any questions so far? Are we good? Okay. I hope there's no questions so far about this. So yeah, the power sign. Again, in Python, you're going to be writing as a 2 star, so 3 to the power of 2. Right? If we were to do a times b, it's essentially equal to a to the power of b, right? 3 times 2 just means that, okay, we're gonna multiply 3 by itself this many times. So 3 times 3, multiply 3 by itself twice. So this is 2. Right? For example, for like 2 to the like 4, okay, like 4, multiplying 2 by itself 4 times. So 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 should give me 16, right? So does the power make sense? So this caret thing is not in, it's not in Python. It does mean power usually. That's how usually people write it in like, when they're talking about like online. But like this is the same thing as this. But in Python syntax, meaning the way you write it is just this. Okay. Good question. Okay, so there's some more complex operators. So there's, I guess if you're talking about bitwise operators, and there's some other ones that are a bit more complicated, but for example, like since these ones aren't used much, at least for beginner level stuff, so I guess we're not gonna be learning it, but there's a link right here. Like W3 Schools is basically just the place for Python and other languages as well. But if you want to look into more like the XOR or an AND, we will be getting over into the comparison or an AND, but there's also a bitwise or an AND, so it does get a little bit more confusing. But these just work with binary numbers. So yeah, there's some, if you want to learn a bit extra, you can always go to the links right there. So yeah, we're gonna skip the break because it's already like 50 almost. So here's some examples of it. So for example, it follows the same rules as when you take the float division, modulus, or power of 2 variables. You're just taking the float division, modulus, and power of the numbers stored inside the variable, right? Or the data stored inside the variable. So for example, let's see. yeah. So if my var 1 equals to 5 and my var 2 equals to 2, float division of my var 1, float division my var 2 is equal to, yeah, wait, yeah, wait, okay, yeah, okay. So this is 5, right? My var 1 equals 5, float division 2, right? 5 divided by 2 is supposed to give you 2.5, but it'll round it down so you get 2, right? And modulus, so my var 1 it has the value of 5, and my var 2 has a value of 2. So 5 modulus 2 is equal to 1, right? Because, well, 5, like mod 2 is equal to 2 remainder 1, and we take the remainder, right? Which is just 1, right? Oh, yeah, float division always rounds down. There's something called seal, which just means round up, but we won't be learning about seal. Yeah, you can also think of float division as always returning the integer part. So for example, if I had like 100 divided by 3, I get like 33.3, right? But for example, if I were to do like float division, then just take the integer part, so like 33, right? So yeah, that's a good way to think about it. Yeah, and the modulus and the power exponent. So for example, if I had my var 1 to the power, so my var 1, 5, my var 2, 2. 5 to the power 2 is 5 times 5, which is 25, right? My var 2, 5 to, or it's not 2, and then my var 1 is 5. So 2 to the power 5 is just 32, right? Yeah, hopefully that makes sense. If you guys have any questions, remember just let me know. These are every question so far has been a good question, and every question is, it's a good question. So if you have any confusion, just make sure to ask them. Okay, so here's some questions. I didn't label them again, sorry, but I'll just label them right now. I'll give you guys like 2 minutes to do this, so until 50. So yeah, 1, 2, and 3. So yes, around 50. So let's just go over the answer. So number 1, we have 5, or sorry, 2, wait, 3, sorry, 3, modulus 5. So this was like a little bit of a trick question. So when you, like, for example, if I were to do 5, 3, right? This, well, 5 can't fit into 3 anytime. So then we just have 3 left over. So remainder 3, right? So D for number 2. If my var 1 equals to 5 and my var 2 equals to 3, what is my var 3 is my var 3 equals to my var 1, which is 5, to the power of 3. So 5 times 5 times 5 is 125. So this one is C. And number 3, if my var 1 equals to 5 and my var 2 equals to 3, my var 1 has a value of 5, my var 2 has a value of 3. So 5 float division 3. If you were to divide it regularly, you get 1.666 repeat, right? A bunch of 6s, right? So then what you do is you divide and round down, so you get what? You take the integer part, right? And so yeah, I think we got D, C, and A. So any questions? If you have any questions, just let me know. So yeah, let's do a quick practice and then so here's a practice. So I want you guys in Repo create a program that solves this equation. And so yeah, I'll give you guys 3 minutes because hopefully this is not like if you guys have practice with like inputs and stuff, it's just like a few lines. So um yeah, can you guys do this practice and then after I guess I'll explain number one, but after this practice. So can you guys like just do this practice real quick and then oh I need to pull it. Yeah, Brendan, do you have a question?
When the last time I used can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
So the last time I used Repo, the homework thing, it wouldn't let me play. I had to create another Repo so I could code the homework. And if I put the homework and the two things I'm supposed to code for the last time's homework, it would only play one of them.
Okay, perfect. That's where I'm gonna talk about comments after. So comments, well, so technically, if your thing worked, if you just inputted whatever you input for the first one, it'll give you your output and tell you what you're supposed to input for the second one, right? So it'll technically still work. I don't know like what your program is, but I'll explain comments and how they might help your problem in a second. So yeah, I'll give you guys maybe like 1 more minute, and I'll just quickly code this up. Okay, so it's around 54. So let me quickly just cook this up. So we have three variables, x, y, and z. And again, this is one of the examples of me not naming it properly. But this is just one of the things like sometimes like just to make things faster, I just name some numbers x, y, and z. Right? But they're all just numbers. So yeah. Hopefully you guys know how this works. I just didn't put any directions because we're a little short on time. But you get an input converted to an integer, right? So you get a number input. So now all we're gonna do is print. I don't know the equations. So we have x to the power of 2. So in order to x to the power of 2, we did this, right? And we're gonna times 2 times 1 plus 5 times. And the test case tells us if we put in 1, 2, 3, we get 19. So let's say if we get 19. So 1, 2, 3, and we get 19, right? So that's kind of how it's just how you work with some operators and some things. So hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. If you have any questions, just let me know. I'll explain number one again. So number one, if we had this is 3, this is 5. So we have 3 modulus 5. If we were to do that again using this method, right? 5 doesn't fit into 3 any single time. So it's 0. 5 times 0 is 0 and 3. And you can think of, okay, 5 doesn't fit into 3 anytime, so we have a remainder of 3. So that's how we get 3, which is number D. Right. Hopefully that makes sense. So yeah. Let's move on. I was supposed to talk about comment as well. And string operators, I guess. I forgot about that. Okay, so we might go a little bit over time, but hopefully I'll try to just go fast. So string operators consist of an additional operator, which is a plus, and a multiplication operator. So these are the only 2 string operators that you can do. And all it'll do is one concatenates and one multiplies. Or one creates copies. So let me quickly give you an example of concatenation. So concatenation is basically just say you have this string and this string, you merge them together, right? And for example, in order to do concatenation between 2 strings, you do this string plus this string, right? And so here's an example of it. So if you have like string 1 equals to hello, string 2 equals to world, my string 3 equals to my string 1 plus my string 2. Hopefully you get the idea by now is whenever we're referencing variables, we just reference the data inside the variable. So we have hello plus world. Right? We have string hellos plus string world, right? And now so my string 3 will have output hello world, right? Hopefully that makes sense. If you have any questions, let me know. Okay, and there's some duplication of things. This isn't, I don't know, you don't really use it a lot, but it's just good to know. So my string 1 equals to hi. So my string has a value of hi. My string 2 equals to my string times 4. All this is doing is it'll create 4 copies of hi and put it as my string 2. So when you do like you get hi, 4 highs. Right? If I were to do like 2, you get like only 2 highs. Right? And if this was becoming hi and a 2, I would get like the 4 highs. Right? I get hi twice. Right. Okay, hopefully these two things make sense. If it doesn't, just let me know. Any questions? No questions? Okay. So yeah, there's some caution things. So when you concatenate two things, make sure they're the same type. So or I guess concatenation only works with strings in this I guess if you're going by that definition, concatenation. But when you use the plus sign, you can only do plus with things that are the same type, right? Or at least for numbers, you can do a float plus an integer, but you can't do like a string plus an integer or a string plus a float. That wouldn't work, right? So for example, like which one of these will cause an error? Like A, B, C, or D. And if you want to convert anything to a string, just use the str function. Yeah, so D would cause an error, right? Because D is a string plus an integer, so that wouldn't work. Right? Okay, so there's also some print concatenation. There's print concatenation. You just use it to make your thing look a little bit more pretty. So for example, if you guys want to print two things in the same line, all you're gonna do is do print, right? Print A comma B. And all this will do is it'll print A with a space and it'll print B on the same line, right? So yeah. So for example, if I had like my string is a Neil, print hi comma Neil, they'll just do hi space and it'll print Neil on the same line, right? And if you did hi plus my string, you're concatenating hi and Neil, so you just be connecting them. So yeah. Sorry, hi is a space here. So you'll do like hi space and then like merge it with Neil, and then so you have hi space Neil, right? But if you were to do print, right, you do hi comma my string, which means hi space print on the same line my string, or which is new, right? So both of these will print hi space new. So yeah. Does it make sense? Any questions? Okay, hopefully. So yeah, I was gonna do this as well. Sorry, but I guess okay, we're kind of running out of time. But maybe you guys can look back at the notes and just do this if you want to. So yeah. And okay, so we were a little behind, I guess. But I was also the self-research, but usually I never have time to do the self-research. But for next class at the start, I'll let you guys do the self-research. And okay, so now let's move to the comments. So comments are really useful because it allows you to annotate your code without like, it basically allows you to explain your code, right? It makes it very nice, right? So all this does, and it's useful for like if you have like multiple people working on one project, one coding project, right? If you written like 50 lines of code, you might want to explain the purpose of that 50 lines, right? Or else it might get like a little confusing. So Python has two types of comments for you to do this. So this for one is this hashtag, and number two is these 3 single quotation marks. So what you'll do is hashtag is a single line comment. So all this basically means is that if I had hashtag something and I wrote whatever in here, I would like blah 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 blah, right? Whatever I wrote in here, Python won't recognize anything after the hashtag as code. It just recognizes it as nothing. It doesn't even read it, I think. And so what it'll do is basically this just allows you to comment your code without, and whatever your comments aren't real code, right? So it doesn't really have to follow any coding conventions. So yeah. And if you really want, they're just used for single line comments, right? And if you want to do multi-line comments, like for example, you want to give like an introduction of your program, you use these 3 quotation marks, and whatever you put in between them are all comments. If I like A, B, C, they're all comments, right? And this is the same thing as doing like A on one line, like B on one line, like C on one line. Like this is for multi-line comments. If you have like a paragraph maybe to explain what your code does, just use these, right? So yeah, I'll be using this a lot in when we're doing multiple things. Like when later on when we have multiple practices, I'll have like this example, this example, this example. So I'll like comment this out like beforehand, right? Before I go into this example. Just so that this example will run and these examples will run. Right? And so yeah. Okay, let's move on. And here's some examples of comments. So we have like, hi name. This is it says like create a greeting to a person, right? And if I were to do like these, right? Quick question, will this print anything? Will this run? So will I see hello world and 3 on the console or no? Like yes or no? No, right? So yeah, we won't, right? Because this is inside these comments. So Python won't recognize these as actual code, just comments, right? So all you'll see is print name. So if name was like Neil, then like you'll print high space name on the console, right? Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna skip the review right now because it's already 5. But just know that today we learned about all the operators, plus, minus, subtract, divide, times, divide, right? And then we also learned about maybe the new one, the slope division, modulus, and the powers. And also for string operators, just know that you can there's 2 string operators you can use. You can use the plus or the times. And also comments, the comma will separate 2 things. It'll basically print 2 things on the same line and it'll separate them by space, right? The comma is only used in a print statement. So yeah, comments, make sure you try to use comments. They're a good habit to do. And just use them, you use them to comment your code, to annotate your code, right? And there are 2 types of comments. You have the hashtag, which is the single line, and the 3 single quotation marks, which is for double line or for multi-line, right? So now we do have a little homework. So what we're gonna do is homework. After this class, there'll be like there'll be basically a like homework assignment on Google Classroom, and all you have to do is do the REPL share link. So I'm gonna so hopefully everyone's listening right now because I'm gonna just like tell you guys how to share your REPL with me, right? So all you'll do is over here, you see this invite thing, right? This invite sign right here, and once you click on it, it'll do private join link. Turn this on, click this on, and do copy join link. So I'm gonna do it one more time. So we click invite first. So this